Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to Local Grits. Thank you for joining me. I am joined with Emily, who is an award-winning AI and digital marketing strategist. She's a trainer, professor. I don't know how you have the time. Featured on CBC, and she's designed training programs for years. She's just all about technology. Changes organizations on how they view AI, which is why I'm so curious. Part-time professor at McMaster University here in Hamilton, and a proud mom of two young children. Emily, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So AI is obviously on everyone's mind. It's enormous. And what I love about following you on LinkedIn, because we we've chatted before and done coffee chats before. I like that you're not afraid to look at the ethical side of this. Some people are just like, bam, right into the AI, and it's just like, go, 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 go. And you're like, whoa, hey, let's take a pause. So let's start at the beginning and how you started Compass content marketing and how it's evolved since the beginning.
Well, Compass Content Marketing has actually been around for about 10 years, and the AI part sort of came in a little later, as you can imagine. So,
Yeah.
when I started my business, I was doing marketing strategies, I was doing done for you marketing services, social media management, content creation, and things like that. Great business. I loved it.
Yeah.
Things kind of shifted when AI sort of came into play. Around 3 years ago was when ChatGPT became available to pretty much anyone who wanted to give it a try.
Yeah.
And I am always curious about trends. I'm always curious about new technology. So I myself decided to start experimenting with it and kind of teaching myself how it worked. And what I discovered from educating myself, and by the way, I took a couple of courses as well from a school in New York City. And I realized what a lot of people also know is that this technology is fundamentally changing everything.
Yeah.
And certainly the digital marketing industry that I've been in for almost 20 years. So I kind of went, okay, this is something that I think more people need to know about, and this is something that I think people need a little bit of help with as well.
Hmm.
So my business evolved because I started offering marketing and AI training. By the way, I also teach at McMaster, like you said. So I have a strong background in teaching both young people and adults. And so my AI and marketing sort of training offerings have become extremely popular. And Alex, I've just decided to lean into that because I
Yeah.
think we're at a period in time where people really need that guidance. People really need that kind of human first approach to AI in their marketing, certainly, and also in their small business.
Mm.
So my business, as you can see, has evolved over the years, and I'm okay with that. I've sort of leaned into that evolution, and I no longer do the done for you marketing. I'm now focused on the training piece, the strategy piece, helping businesses and nonprofit organizations make better use of technology in a way that feels aligned for them.
Mm.
So I'm not here to say, you have to use AI for XYZ different parts of the business. I'm here to say, let's work through that together and let's look at some possibilities that I think could help you in doing the wonderful work that you're already doing, but perhaps maybe a little bit faster, perhaps with a little bit of assistance, and perhaps boosting the productivity and helping you achieve your mission. So it's all kind of focused around that in one-to-one sessions I do with businesses, also with workshops and corporate training sessions, unlocking for people those new possibilities that are ethical, responsible, but ultimately serve the business and help them to grow.
Yeah, and I that's one thing that's very interesting is you're not afraid to lean into the ethical side of things and to be like, "Oh, wait, hey, wait a second, let's just hold on and think about this." And what are your thoughts in like on your LinkedIn posts and you want to start conversation. And you do have a people's first approach. Why is that important for organizations today?
I think it's kind of what's missing from a lot of AI work. I mean, people see the headlines about AI, they get scared. They
Yeah.
hear the doomsday predictions, they get scared. They're worried about losing their jobs. They're worried about being unable to keep up. These are
Yeah.
very real concerns. And this technology development is moving at such an accelerated pace with no guardrails in place, no laws, no rules. People are kind of just muddling their way through. And that can be challenging for entrepreneurs, for example, who are busy trying to make ends meet, busy trying to staff their business, dealing
Mhm.
with any number of different sort of challenges, tariffs, economic concerns, changing customer habits and things like that.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, now we have this AI sort of movement, if you want to call it that, that entrepreneurs and marketing folks now have to navigate this as well and be constantly learning something new, constantly changing the way that they've done what they've been doing for many, many years.
Yeah.
So I think where I come in is sort of helping people to first kind of decode that, helping them to kind of figure out what is going to work for them at a
Mhm.
way that is manageable, a pace that's manageable, but also kind of helping the Canadian small business community get a little more well positioned for the future. Canadians, as compared with other nations, are known to be a little more hesitant, a little bit more skeptical of AI.
Mhm.
And I understand this. I see this myself. There certainly are concerns that I also share.
Mhm.
But I think that humanity piece is really, really important. So, yes, we can use AI to amplify and complement the wonderful work that humans are already doing. We're not looking, or at least I'm not looking at ways to replace humans with machines. I don't believe in that. I don't think it's going to work. And I don't think that sort of model is sustainable, anyways. AI
Mhm.
could do a lot, but it can't do everything and it makes mistakes. And so we have to find ways to sort of manage it and have it work for us, but also have a setup where we're checking what it does and we are overseeing everything that AI touches within the business and anything that goes outside the business with our
Mhm.
business name on it. That's super important.
Yeah. And so what would you say is what's a let's start with positive of AI then. What's a transformative experience of one of your clients or one of your team you've worked with where it's really helped and impact their productivity?
That's a great question. So I'm lucky in that I get to be in rooms with organizations all across Canada, and from community futures organizations to academic institutions to travel companies to startups, they're all already seeing the benefit of AI. They're using
Mm.
it, for example, not just for writing emails, which, by the way, is a very common use of AI, helping you to phrase your email just right, or
Yeah.
edit, or proofread, and so on, but also as a strategic partner. And this is something that I want people to start thinking about. How can you use AI to help you achieve your goals? I'll give you an example. We're coming into a new year, perfect time to do some goal setting and reflection for one's business. Maybe in 2026, you want to see a 15% increase in revenue, for example. That's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the kind of goal that you can put into an AI tool. I recommend a paid AI tool because the security generally is going to be a little bit better than the freebies.
Oh,
Put that in there
yeah.
and give the context of your business and AI to help you figure out a roadmap to get from where you are now to where you want to be. You can blue sky, map out your ideas, what you want for your business, the vision, those goals, those big goals that you want to share, or maybe you don't want to tell your staff, but you want to, go for what you really want. And
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
people do want their businesses to grow or their nonprofits to grow. So you can
Yeah.
use it as a strategic partner in that way to kind of help you map out your goals and actually form a realistic plan to actually get there. So it's
Mhm.
not just helping you with emails, it's actually helping you with business planning and goal setting, which to me are hugely important pieces.
Mm.
Most businesses I find are using AI for uh, things like social media, admin work, note taking, meetings for sure, agendas, grant applications, funding applications, and things like that. I would say
Right.
some are doing that well in the sense that they're taking a human first approach. They're using it to help them, not to do the entire thing. A mistake I do see some folks make out there, these are not my clients, but other folks I see online, they're just taking what AI gives them and they're shipping that. And
Right.
what they will find is the engagement is poor, the social media quality is not great. People can tell when one has used ChatGPT, for example. It's too generic. It's not compelling. It's, in the context of, say, a funding application, like your funding application is going to sound just like everybody else's funding application. So why would the funder
Right.
choose you? That
Mm.
human piece, again, is missing. And that's what people, I think, are benefiting from my training, is finding ways to retain what really makes their business special and really helps them to shine in the AI era without losing the soul of the business, but still kind of getting the benefits and the boosted productivity that AI offers as a business tool.
Yeah, AI cannot replace the branding of your business and your soul and identity, and I think that that's a really important thing to let people know, because it's where you have your competitive advantage, and it's true. It's especially with SEO, and I've noticed this a lot in the trades. When I look at trades websites, you could essentially take their logos and just interchange them in many ways, and there's an opportunity here for you to use AI to streamline, but not to replace who you are and your values and your identity. And those are things that I think people want. So, what would you say are the biggest myths or fears? I mean, they're not the same thing, but two things that you hear from teams, like when you're, let's say you're meeting with a team for the very first time, and you hear this constant fear or myth about AI, and how do you address them in your training?
Great question. So a lot of people don't trust AI. They don't trust it to be accurate. They don't trust it to be fair. They don't trust it to keep their data private. And those are real concerns. So to that, I would say, yes, you need to be careful with what type of information you're putting into an AI tool, particularly if you're just using the free version of ChatGPT. Nothing wrong with using the free version of ChatGPT, but do be aware that it has very little in the way of data security for your business. Everything that you put into that tool is going to be stored by default for training purposes, meaning it's training the large language model to get better, supposedly,
Hmm.
off your information. So
Yeah.
if you're okay with that, if there's no sort of state secrets, it may be fine for you. If
Yeah.
anything is already published on a website, a public website, for example, you're probably not compromising your data because, quite frankly, AI already has access to that information. If it's content on your website, it's content on your social media, it's in your annual report, which you publish online anyways, like, you're not really putting your business at risk, in my view.
Mhm.
Where I think things get a little more thorny, and these are real concerns, is if customers have given you their data, their names, their phone numbers, their credit card information, purchase history, uh, allergies, which, medical information, like that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. That's where it gets really, really, really tricky because they most likely did not give you permission to take that information and then go put it into an AI tool. So I think organizations need to be super respectful of the data privacy of their customers. Certainly, if an organization wants to have an AI-powered chatbot on their website, for example, that provides assistance 24/7, okay, great. That might be something that your customers might like, but they need to be made aware that there are risks and that there are terms and conditions and that they should not be putting any private information into that tool. So I think we can do a better job of educating people. This is all quite new, and some people are aware of the data privacy risks, some are not. But I would say that is the area where I see a lot of businesses have concerns, and quite rightly. I do encourage organizations to consider an AI policy, and that's something I've been helping some groups with. An AI policy is basically a written sort of document. It should be a living document. It's going to need to be updated, but it's better to have something in place.
Yeah.
And that document should spell out clearly what is allowed to go into an AI tool, what an AI tool can be used for in the business, and what AI tools cannot be used for in the business. So that data privacy piece should be in that policy. If you want to create a culture of innovation within your organization, then that's something that you can add to the AI policy. Like if people have, let's say, an idea of how they can use AI better to drive, growth in the organization, that to me should be encouraged. So that's something that can go into an AI policy. It's not just what not to do, but it's also, let's look at ways and a mechanism for which, our team members might actually have some great ideas, and they may discover some great tools that they can then bring to the rest of the team or bring to the owner of the business to actually consider investing in. So the AI policy, I think, is an important one. It doesn't have to be super lengthy, but I do recommend that for groups that don't yet have one in place. I have some resources if folks are interested or they want a little bit of help with what should go into an AI policy and what should not. Having those conversations right now with a number of different businesses.
Cool. Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes so that people can get that resource. That would be great. Now, would you say that that policy is an internal one and external, like customer facing, and there should be some obviously some continuity with that. You can't say one thing to customers and then another thing internally.
Right. Yeah.
But
so if and it kind of depends on how the organization is using AI. If you're using AI for admin and you're using AI for marketing, which is where a lot of small businesses will go, I don't think that you need to have a public facing AI policy. It would more just be a tool to kind of have everybody in the organization on the same page about what they're using AI for and what they are not. I think, though, if you're looking at a customer facing tool, like, for example, a chatbot, then yes, you need to have an AI policy that's in line with your privacy policy. And that's an area that will need some attention. And quite frankly, that's, I think, going to be a broader piece that should include conversations with the entire team, or at least management, and having that sort of vetted by an expert, I think, is important, because you want to make sure that your butt's covered, so to speak, and also just that people are understanding what they're doing, and you're giving your customers a choice as to how they want their data to be used. I think a lot of folks are getting more aware of where their data goes, and what information they're willing to share with businesses, and what they're not willing to do.
And with the information that, I mean, I've heard different GPT models have different, I don't know, for lack of a better word, benefits and ethics, and that some will will truly go down an unethical path. Do you have a preference or a favorite, or is it just like it's still kind of a little bit of a digital wild west, and you should be just use common sense with every single contact or AI, or and how trusting you should be with them?
Yeah, I think most people are using Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT or Google Gemini. Those are definitely three of the most popular large language models.
Yeah,
And they're all great options. They all work quite well. But if you're using the free version of any of those, like it's going to be pretty minimal, the level of security that you're going to get.
right.
There are enterprise level options, like bigger organizations, for example, will have typically Microsoft Copilot, and then what they'll do is they'll have their IT department, create a situation where the data is not necessarily shared
Mm,
outside of the organization. So that is possible. It is also possible on ChatGPT with paid versions over there. So you do have a little more control if you are a paid subscriber.
mhm,
And you can obviously still be cautious, but you have a bit more control over where your data goes. We here in Canada have a situation right now where over 90% of the information that we put into AI or even just the internet in general goes through the United States. And so
right.
data sovereignty is something that Canadians and the Carney government are starting to talk about a little bit more.
Yeah,
How do we make it so that all our information doesn't go to the US before it comes back to us?
right.
And I think that's an important piece too that's happening kind of in a broader sense is, we want ownership over our information. We don't want everything just sort of shared with whoever has access to it. So I think people are starting to ask the right questions, which is great.
Mhm,
I'd love to see more in the way of security, or be able to say, yeah, there's this one really great Canadian based large language model that could work for small organizations. I would love to see that.
yeah.
If anyone knows of one, please let me know. I would love to be able to recommend it. But I think that space is one that a lot of people are wanting more from. They want that security piece. They want to rest easy at night knowing that they can trust the AI tool that they're using.
Mm.
Right now they're all pretty much American tools that we're using for the most part, but I would love to see a really good Canadian sort of version that keeps our data here in Canada.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that I know that the Carney government has spoken about is just the environmental impact that these data centers, they are enormously an environmental hazard, for lack of a better word. It's
Yeah.
very difficult. They take huge amounts of cooling, huge amounts of hydro and electricity to maintain. How can you balance that with a net zero agenda? It's going to be challenging for the future because the AI is not going anywhere, and you want to be competitive, but at the same time, you also don't want to create serious problems for your environment.
Absolutely. Right now, AI development, all gas, no brakes,
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah,
And it's a race to keep up. It's a race for development. These AI companies are in a race with one another. It's all happening too fast. And like you say, that environmental degradation is real. It's set to increase. The power needed to fuel these computing centers, these data centers, is immense. The environmental impact is brutal. I would love to see more green alternatives. I don't know why we're not talking more about that. We know that this is coming. So we also know that there are green alternatives to energy production. Where are those? I would
Mm.
really like to see more of those
Hmm.
in part of the conversation, because this is only set to increase. And that's not just here in Canada, that's in the US. That's, like China already has so many data centers. They're full bore over
And
there. And
yeah,
so, we have to plan for this. We can't just forge ahead at all costs. I think a more responsible sort of ethical view has to be taken so that this can be a sustainable process, not just for tech CEOs, but for regular folks who live here and our children for generations to come.
yeah. Can you give an example of how much resource would be required for, say, a simple inquiry like write me a social media post? Would you have that kind of information on how much energy would take to do that? Because I've read that it's enormous.
Yeah, yeah. AI does take up an enormous amount of power. And even just for a simple query or everyday use of a tool like ChatGPT, folks don't realize that because they're on their computers, they're on their phones. It's not taking up a lot of energy from their device. The
Right,
energy consumption is happening behind the scenes in a place where most people are not seeing it. They're not aware, unless they happen to see the news or they happen to read a story about this. So it's kind of happening in a broader scale, but it's kind of not right in front of us. And sometimes when things are not happening right in front of us, it's easy for folks to overlook. And it's easy for folks to forget about that or just not simply be educated on what's happening.
yeah,
And so again, those green alternatives need to come into play. Those conversations need to be had, certainly with a lot of different community members at the table. I myself would not want to live beside a data center. There's already
right.
people who live beside these places saying, this is not good for us. Sorry.
No, yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, they
Sorry
are
about that.
they are taking a lot of resources away. And, I I don't know what the green alternatives are without an enormous amount of cost, and that's like it's not that it's not worth it. It's just that is it pragmatic when you have less ethical countries going after this technology, and it is going to put them ahead. There's no denying that, but we're really in a bit of a paradox with this.
I would agree. It's happening fast and it's so closely tied to our economy that it becomes tricky to kind of extricate the two. China is already, more advanced than us on the AI front. And to be honest with you, some businesses in North America are running their business on Chinese AI platforms because they're more cost efficient and they're
Right,
faster. And
right.
so if you were looking at this as a race, which I don't love that analogy, but I think that's how some people are sort of viewing this, we're already behind.
Yeah,
And so the question becomes, how do we keep up? And then just the infrastructure behind it. It opens up so many questions. It opens up so many ethical challenges, and there's no real regulation at this stage. I'm curious if we will see some. Canada has now a federal ministry of digital innovation and artificial intelligence,
hmm,
and so I'm curious what we'll see coming out of that ministry at the federal level. Certainly lots of talk, but I haven't really seen anything major in terms of guardrails or policy or anything like that. So
yeah.
waiting to see.
So you mentioned that there's some industries that are using they're using the less expensive Chinese, if you will, AI. Are there industries that would benefit most from AI, and why would those industries benefit from them? What are some that you're seeing that are really like, wow, this is really accelerating?
Great questions. Certainly in my field, which is marketing, AI adoption just, accelerates the productivity,
True.
by so much. It can write copy for you. It can edit your copy. It can create images. It can design campaigns. It can do project management. I mean, there's a lot that AI can do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's doing it to 100% of the work of or the standard of a talented, experienced marketer, but it can do probably, let's say, maybe 80%, and then the human comes in at the 20% mark remaining, and oversees and corrects and sort of puts it those finishing touches. So marketing, absolutely. I think any administrative, operational work is ripe to be disrupted by AI. I remember in the early days of my career, I did a stint overseas as a communications officer, and one of my roles, this was almost 20 years ago now, one of my roles and responsibilities was taking minutes at a board meeting. And I had to sit
Mm,
in a room with a pen and paper and try to write down what each individual was saying while
yeah.
they were saying it.
Yeah.
And it was really challenging for me because I'm dealing with accents, I'm dealing with different, ways of phrasing things in a different country. And now I giggle because there's no way that someone would be expected to do that. You have
Yeah.
AI tools that can do that for you so
Yeah.
much faster, so much easier, and probably more accurately than someone
Yeah.
like myself would have done 20 years ago. So admin, operations, customer service, is, AI is definitely helpful for that to a point. Not everyone wants to interact with an AI chatbot. Not everyone wants to talk to an AI on the phone, especially
Yeah.
if it's not effective at resolving your question or concern.
Yeah.
But in terms of business, in any sector, those typically are the places that are being transformed, most quickly. And that goes for many different types of businesses, large and small. Certainly some retail businesses can use AI for inventory control, for e-commerce. There's lots of different possibilities. It's just
Mm,
not going to do all of that for you. It's going to help
right.
you with that. It's, you still need to be kind of running it. You still need to be in charge and kind of overseeing it. So I think we'll see more of that. I think that in the medical community, we're seeing AI. If you go to a community health uh, clinic like I do for my family doctor, we've already been asked to sign release agreeing that we allow an AI tool. You could say no.
Wow.
I said yes because I'm
Yeah.
okay with that, but we're seeing trials of doctors and nurses using AI for note taking, for diagnostics, and things like that.
Yeah.
Of course, AI can make mistakes, so that's the fear, but
Yeah.
this can help boost their capacity. And I think that's the idea or the promise behind it. If it's successful, it allows them to do more in a day, see more patients, have more of that human to human piece rather than doing that admin, the note taking, the patient notes, et cetera, et cetera. So there's no industry or sector, I think, that won't be touched by this,
Yeah.
with the exception of perhaps skilled trades. And
Yeah.
so I think trades, I think like firefighters, those kind of jobs are really safe from AI. And for young people coming up, I think they're great options, by the way. I'm
Agreed.
actually happy to see them getting a little bit more respect now. I remember when I was growing up in rural Ontario, the the dads that were plumbers, the dads that were electricians, the dads that were construction workers, they didn't make a lot of money. They
Mm,
didn't get a lot of respect.
hmm.
And now I think that things are different. I think these types of trades are needed more so than ever. And I think that, they're finally getting the pay and the respect that they deserve. So those are, I think, some areas that won't be as affected by AI, much into the future at all.
Yeah. Um, I mean, you could make us an argument that AI could be helping with the loss of life or human error because it is seeing things that a human couldn't possibly see. So it is interesting that and I think yeah, if somebody's not comfortable with having AI as a part of their diagnosis, for all I totally agree and could understand that. But it's interesting, just as you said that, I was like, well, you could make an argument both ways. So we will have to, unfortunately, the sad thing with all this is you have to wait and see, and that's the troubling part because if it goes into the negative, that's a challenge. Um, and you've taught over 4,000 people about AI through your courses, and you've had leaders come to you in a variety of different industries with misconceptions. How do you shift their perspective to something that is more, I don't want to say agnostic, but more of a changing their ideas, whether it's negative or overly positive?
Great question. So I think we have to prepare for a future of work that involves humans and AI collaborating and working alongside one another. And it's a whole new way of work. It's a whole new way of doing business. It's a whole new way of showing up every day. And it's one that folks didn't necessarily know was coming when they started their career, right? We didn't know that we were going to be sort of in this era. We've sort of found ourselves here. And now the question is, what next? And so I think for a lot of leaders, executives, it's figuring out how are we going to rework our business and how are we going to support our teams to maximize the opportunity here that AI presents while minimizing the risk. And that's a balance that I do believe can be struck. It's
Yep.
going to look different for different organizations. Some are really more advanced when it comes to AI. Some are sort of dipping their toe in the water, starting small with a small pilot project and then building from there once they see results.
Mm.
I support people on their path wherever they're at. If they're simply curious and they want to learn more, great. You are welcome here. If you are already using AI quite well and you want to prepare for the next phase of work, which may involve, for example, AI agents, which can complete tasks autonomously. I'm here to support you as well, because I think that, again, the use of AI within an organization should be human led. The
Yeah.
humans get to decide where the AI fits in and where that aligns with their values, where that aligns with their mission. I'll give you an example. If an organization is centered around the values of sustainability, for example, and environmental protection, how does it look when all of a sudden they start using AI for everything,
Yep.
knowing that AI has a negative effect on the environment?
Right.
That to me is a disconnect,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And on social media these days, I'm sure what you've noticed, Alex, is people are very quick to point out if they feel an organization or a brand is being disingenuous.
Yes.
So navigating those spaces is going to look different from one organization to the next. I don't take a prescriptive approach. I'm here to sort of walk people through the possibilities and help to empower them so they're not afraid of AI anymore, but rather they see the opportunity or the potential that it brings to the organization and approaching it as, a member of their team or a tool in their business toolkit that they can really use to grow and thrive.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have a Smart Start AI package. And so how is that unique and how does that help those organizations with AI journey? I'm sure it talks about those questions you just mentioned, but can you go a little deeper into that program?
Absolutely. So the Smart Start AI package is fantastic for small businesses who
Mm,
are looking to maximize efficiency without losing the really heart and the soul of their business and what really makes it special. So what we do is we start by looking at where your organization is already using technology. You may be already using AI a little bit, you may not be, that's okay. And then we look for opportunities that we can start taking some things off your plate, not outsourcing, your critical thinking to AI by any means, not replacing your staff, but rather starting to find solutions
yeah,
for the problems or the challenges that you're facing. Are you doing the same repetitive task many times in a day? Is that taking up too much of your time?
yeah,
That's a great starting point for looking at how you can start leaning on AI to start automating some pieces of your organization. And that can be a little bit scary for people sometimes
mhm,
when they're giving away or they're sort of delegating parts of their role to AI. And I promise you, it's not scary once you see how it works and you see the results. People are so thrilled when I show them, and sometimes we actually do it together. This is how you do it. And then this is kind of done for you. You're just going to check it, you're just going to oversee it, using AI tools that are not necessarily costly, not necessarily hard to learn, but can give you those kind of quick wins and set you up for success for the year ahead.
yeah,
So the Smart Start AI package is available for small business owners. You can bring, if you have a business owner, you have a team member that's trusted, you can bring them as well
yep,
and use this as an opportunity to get your business AI ready, especially considering that a lot of your competitors may be already using AI. It's the perfect opportunity rather than muddle through it on your own. It takes less than 2 hours of your time, and then you're up and running. You have all your questions answered, and you have a clear path forward that aligns with your values of your organization.
yeah. And you talk about that in one of your blog posts about making the shift to AI for smaller professionals. Um, what's a common pattern that you've noticed or a breakthrough that you see with one of those people who's gone through your course and they're like, oh wow, like a light bulb moment? Is there a story that stands out in particular?
It's a great question. There's been so many. There's been so many folks who've come to my sessions or they've done a one-to-one session with me that have said, "Thank you so much. I feel so much better now." And I
Yeah,
think that feeling of relief is a
right.
really big one for busy entrepreneurs who are just out there, like problem solving on a continuous basis. Can be tiring. Finally, there's a technology that can help you, and I think people find a lot of they're surprised when they see how easy it can be, and then they're very also appreciative that now they have that tool in their toolkit that they can lean on with confidence. They're not afraid anymore, they're ready to go.
Yeah,
And I think that I've seen that countless times with nonprofits and small businesses. It's really gratifying to see how people get excited about the possibilities, and they're like, "I'm not afraid anymore. I'm ready to do this, and thank
yeah,
you so much." So that's something that I love to see. I love those light bulb moments, and I also encourage people to bring their questions if they have hesitations, if they have concerns. Let's chat through them and let's figure that out together
yeah.
so that you walk away with a clear plan.
Yeah, and I mean, in with all of this that I have learned a lot of is just, and you have another blog post about it, which I really enjoyed, which is AEO replacing SEO or in conjunction with SEO and using AI and making sure that your business is found on AI. I know Gary Vaynerchuk is a very, very big endorser that soon we will just be talking to our AI companions that help us throughout the day. And It's no longer going to be order Domino's pizza. It's going to be order pizza. And AI knows your persona. Now, we're not there yet, but it is important for businesses to start adopting. And I'm going to put the link to that blog post in the show notes because it's very, very helpful. Small businesses, though, do need to start preparing to get seen by AI as much as Google. Google is starting to lose market share. And so, looking forward, how do you see AI evolving in marketing and productivity for the next 3 to 5 years? What's the future of AI?
Well, it's certainly going to increase in its capability to complete various tasks. It's going to be more and more commonly used in various workplaces, both in small businesses, in nonprofit organizations, in larger businesses. So we can expect that the AI adoption trends will continue to grow. I think we will get to a stage where we have more personalized AI tools working for us. So, like you mentioned, Alex, it knows our preferences. It can help with shopping. It can help with completing tasks. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, already has some deals with organizations like Walmart, OpenTable, et cetera, et cetera. So you can actually complete a task or make a restaurant booking or order something right within your AI tool. You won't need to go to another tool to complete that transaction.
Right.
There might be still a few folks who are kind of old fashioned, let's call them, and they're like, that's not for me. That's not my cup of tea. I prefer to do things the old fashioned way. That's okay
Yep.
too. I want to be clear. We don't have to all be doing these things, but certainly those capabilities will be there. AI agents will continue to become more powerful. Those are tools that can complete tasks on the behalf of a human. So you could say, for example, plan my trip to Japan. I want to stay in 4-star hotels. I want to go to Tokyo and Hiroshima in May 2027,
Yep.
and it could sort of take that away and sort of do that for us, including flights, dinner reservations, itineraries, et cetera, et cetera. And, just in general, I think organizations too will have to manage change more so than ever. So they'll need to have a bit more of a plan as to how they're going to continue to navigate the developments in AI. That might mean staff training. That might mean a learning lab or even an informal session, lunch and learn, things like that. We have to give our teams, I think, the opportunity to learn this technology and support them during the process. Otherwise, they might get a little bit overwhelmed. They might fear for the loss of their jobs and so on.
Mm.
I think, sadly, some jobs will be displaced by AI, but I am hopeful that some new ones will be created. And I think that when employers are looking to hire, in the next 3 to 5 years, they will be looking for individuals who are able to learn and adapt, who have good knowledge of AI and how to get good results from it.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that coming. And I think a big part of it is going to be government involvement, whether it's at municipal, provincial, and federal. I don't think it can just be one over. And it's, yeah, we're in exciting and little nail biting times for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Emily, it's been great chatting with you. I've learned so much just in this conversation, and I'm going to put the link to all your resources in the show notes. And yeah, just thank you so much, and we'll talk soon. I like to have a second interview with all my guests, so I invite you on again, and hopefully we can do this again with a new kind of framework to where AI is in just even the short time of a second episode.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure being on the podcast. I wish everyone who's listening today the best of luck in their AI journey. If you have questions, please reach out. You don't need to do this alone. I know it can be very overwhelming for some, but there's a lot of great resources out there that I'm happy to share with folks. And experimentation is key as well. So don't be afraid to hop on an AI tool, have some fun with it, and see what it can do for you.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
Thank you.